recording just so I can have this done. So if you are cutting things out, go ahead and do that. Get them lined up like this. If you don't have the pages, or if you're just writing things in, you can start getting the vocabulary words written out, so you can just fill those in as you go. These are going to be the order that we go in through the notes, so I would recommend having all of these different problems written down and ready to go. Especially some of the drawings might be nice to get down if you can. But yeah, how was everybody's spring break, I guess, since we're waiting for people to cut things out?
I went to a ski wrestling clinic because, I do ski
I
wrestling.
need more time.
Okay, I'll give you a little bit more time for our first vocab word. I forgot the recording anyway, so it's all right. Who just left? Why do you guys hurt my feelings?
Some of us do have bad Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah, no, I assume that's what it is. That or Cam, they got bored.
Or on the other half, they just don't like you.
Yeah, it's quite possible. I assume some people don't.
It's probably because you do math for fun.
Oh, I was thinking it was because I'm like,
Bald.
Whoa, no. Jeez, rough.
She just insulted you.
You guys are mean. All right, let's move on to the next one. Corresponding parts. So that's the angles and sides in a similar or congruent figures that match. So like I was just saying on the last one, since we have the single congruency line here and the single congruency line here, that means that G and R are congruent, or corresponding parts. So G and R correspond to each other. F and P because they both have 3 congruency lines, and S and K because they each have 2 congruency lines. So those ones are congruency arcs, whatever. Those are the corresponding parts. So that's shown right here. We have angle S. We're going to talk about this kind of notation a little bit later as well, although you'll get it a bunch next year too, so it's not horribly important at the moment, but you guys should at least be familiar with it. So this is that angle S is congruent to angle K, angle G is congruent to angle R, and angle P is congruent to angle F. The other thing we know is that these side lengths are also going to be the corresponding side lengths. So G and S, which is here, right? G to S corresponds to RK, which is right here. And then GP, which is this one, corresponds to RF, which is this one. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a drawing activity where you guys are going to use graph paper to draw different shapes, and then you're going to make them bigger and smaller. And we're also going to, there's something else we're going to do. Let's find out. Oh, I closed it. Yep. Oh, we're also going to practice using a protractor and exploring similar figures.
I already know how to use a protractor.
Perfect, then it'll be easy.
Do you really?
No, I forgot how.
Exactly. Do you really?
Okay, congruent. This one's super easy. It means equal in measure. Now, as you can see here, labeled in this really weirdly placed box with a learn zillion, I have no idea what this is from. A common misunderstanding with congruent is that congruent does not mean the same thing as the same shape. What it actually means is that congruent is the same shape and the same size. So same shape, same size. This is the way that I like to think about these things. Congruent has to be both same shape and the exact same size. So these two triangles right here, these are the same shape, right? They're both right triangles with the same angles. But because this one is much bigger than the tiny one right here, these are not congruent. Same with these lines. This line right here is a straight line going left to right. This one's also a straight line going left to right, but they're not congruent because they're different lengths. So like if I have a square, it's about a square, versus a square, it's less of a square, but close enough. Even if they're the same shape, because they're different sizes, they are not congruent. You can also have congruent angles or congruent side lengths. It doesn't have to be the whole shape. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now, scale factor, this comes with 2 bonus definitions. I'm sure you're overjoyed to get to write extra things. But scale factors is the ratio of corresponding sides in 2 similar figures. So, for instance, this one right here, I don't know why it says 1 inch here. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense considering that they're clearly 2 inches and 4 inches, but whatever. The point is, this one right here, so this has a side length of 2, side length of 2. This one has a side length of 4 and a side length of 4. So this one is twice as big as the other. So it's a scale factor of 2. An enlargement factor is specifically a scale factor that makes a figure larger, and a reduction factor is a scale factor that makes a figure smaller. That should be pretty obvious, right? Reduction means get smaller, enlargement means get bigger. So pretty simple there. I suppose I should do a quick check-in. Any questions about any of the stuff we've gone over so far? I know it's probably a little bit confusing with all the corresponding parts talk, but we're just taking notes right now. I'm assuming most of you are keeping your brains off. One thing I do want to mention, guys, while you're all here, can you watch Annie, please? Wait, the movie Annie? No, Janie, there is no assignment for today.
All I know right now, I'm sneezing a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of allergy season. Mine hasn't started yet, but they will soon. One thing I do want to mention, guys, is please, please, please bring a pencil to class tomorrow. We're going to be drawing a whole lot on graph paper and things. Ideally bring some paper too, but you know, at least a pencil.
You need to give me a pencil.
Don't even.
I don't have
I'll
pencils.
probably forget it.
Pens will work, Andy, but a pencil would be better.
I want to use a
How about a
highlighter.
marker?
A marker works, I guess, but don't.
Bad thing is, I don't have any pencils, so.
Why don't you guys have pencils? You've got like an entire box at the start of the year.
They only gave us like 3 pencils.
They did? Oh yeah, you might be right.
We got 2.
Oh,
Well, fine. I should have some extras probably. Should get more, but whatever.
we got like 3 pencils and 3 pens. They didn't even give us a sharpener or an eraser, so I mean.
Awesome.
That's nice.
Great. Okay, does anybody need more time with this one?
Okay, we have colored pencils.
Do you have colored pencils?
I
Colored
lost
pencils may
mine.
work.
I haven't used mine at all, nor have I
It
used
was
highlighter
free
at
school
all.
supplies. Janie's got a point. Like, my middle school never gave me supplies, so I had to buy them all myself. My parents hated it because I lost pencils every day in middle school. I swear I went through like 500 pencils in 1 year. It's insane. Then I found them all at the bottom of my locker at the end of the year. I had like 60 pencils down there. It was awesome. Anyway, are we ready to move on?
Sure.
Okay. Congruent figures. 2 figures that have the exact same shape and the exact same size. So if you wanted to make this a little simpler, you could say same shape, same size, because honestly, that's really all you need here. Now, one thing I do want to talk about again is these things called congruency marks. This is going to be very important, and it's something we're going to keep repeating throughout this unit. So like with angles, usually it's the number of arcs. So in this case, we have 1 congruency arc here and 1 congruency arc here, which means these 2 angles are the same. For lines, if we have these 2 marks through them, that means that this line here is the same length as this line here. The one with 1 mark through it means these are the same. The ones with 3 marks through it are the same. Same with these angles here, C and F, and E and B. This is how you tell that these shapes are the same. These congruency marks tell us that this angle is the same as this angle, all the angles are the same, and all the side lengths are the same. And that's really important. You can also have congruency marks in the same shape. So like if I have this one line through this one and one line through this one, that means that these two side lengths are the same as well. It works both ways. Okay. Are we good or do we need more time on this one?
Read the chat.
There's a little bit more, I think. Hold on. So if you don't have your notebook, I do want you to write this down. This is what's the word? Conditions. There we go. This is the conditions for two shapes to be similar. So they have to have corresponding angles must be congruent, and the measures of corresponding sides must be proportional. So this is really important to note. This is how you tell whether or not two shapes are similar. Now, similar and congruent, we often compare and contrast these two things. Really quick, I'm just going to go over it in a kind of simple fashion. So think about a square and a rectangle. All squares are rectangles, right? But not all rectangles are squares. Kind of the same idea with similar versus congruent shapes. All all congruent shapes are similar, but not all similar shapes are congruent, right? Similar just means they have the same angles and they're proportional, but these two shapes are similar. They're definitely not congruent because congruent has to be the same size and the same shape. Similar just has to be the same shape. All right, and I think that's into problems. Yep. So that's where we're going to cut it off today. So if you do have the notes already in, or if you've cut them out, then you're good. If you've written this down and you don't have the notes, then we will finish up some practice problems probably on, what's today? Oh, the week is thrown off, Thursday. So Thursday we'll finish up the rest of the interactive notebook notes. But you guys are good to go today. If you're done with this stuff, I will see you all